Welcome, beautiful ladies. It is Camille here. And for those of you who haven't met me, I help single driven women in how to attract a quality life partner so they can have that loving and committed and passionate relationship they truly deserve. And I'm really excited to have a really special guest today, a woman who very much stands for empowerment. She's passionate about, body image very much, authenticity, and I was really drawn to her when I watched some of her videos, and I wanted to interview her, and here she is, Kate O'Brien. So welcome on the call. So happy to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, Camille.
Now, for those of you who haven't met you, can you just tell us a little bit about, what is your driver about what you do? Why are you so passionate about empowering women and men around the globe?
Yeah, I think it came out of necessity originally, necessity for my own need. I really lived two ends of the spectrum. There was a point in time where I was just such rock bottom, and I won't even go into the details, but picture someone lying on the ground, unable to stand, and really facing possibly their own mortality.
Wow.
That was where I was at. And so, I've been...
So how long ago was that, just to get a bit of a sense?
I'm 35 now. I'm just doing some math. 13, 14 years ago.
Wow.
Okay. And that was after, a 3-year battle with anorexia, a 1-year battle with drugs. I think I had bulimia for 8 years at that time. So, and stuff like that doesn't just happen without sort of reasoning. So, I experienced all sorts of stuff and had all sorts of happening within me that had me go into those spaces. But anyway, coming out of that was a massive journey, and the places I've had to go within myself to have the kind of life that I have now. So I said, I've lived two ends of the spectrum. I've lived that end of the spectrum I lived there for quite a long time. And now I get to live the end of the spectrum where, my husband and I, we've got an extraordinary relationship. Please don't hear that that's perfect. We'll probably talk more about it today. But, it's extraordinary. I get to wake up on a daily basis, choose whatever the heck I want to do for the day, get to express my voice in the world in the way that I choose it and I say. So it's really life on my terms in every sense of the word. We live in Bali. We live exactly where we want to live. We travel, blah, blah, blah. And I have freedom within myself, just real
Amazing.
Self-love. And I could not have said that years ago, but I didn't wake up like that. And that's the thing. And I think that's why I do this work, because I know what's possible in terms of freedom within ourselves, because our external lives are just such a reflection on what's going on the inside. So I look out into the world and I see what is normal as people feeling stuck.
I love that.
That's my big driver. So sometimes I deliver messages that are not, the messages I share, they're not new. There's not really any new messages around there, but I want to deliver them in a way that's unexpected, that's perhaps a little bit shocking at times, or just reminds people like, whoa, I really need to question the way I'm thinking about myself. I need to question these rules that I've been living inside of, because, heck, I wasn't born with this. I've adopted this from somewhere along the track, and these rules limit me. They limit how I see myself, how I see my world, and everything within that, but maybe they're not mine. What if I was to challenge that and get a lot more freedom? So that's where I come from and why I love doing what I do.
Beautiful. And you shared an extremely powerful video earlier on this year. I think you called it Learning to Love My Body, where, very authentic, very raw. And I'll be sharing the link of that too, because I think it's so powerful for my audience to watch that. What inspired you to share that video?
I get really upset when I see women just dogging on themselves, particularly from a body place, and it's definitely a trigger point for me. I saw it, and actually the trigger point for me was I saw a lady that I knew who's, who stuff's around on social media, and she'd put an image of the, total inverted commas, perfect body that she saw with the head cut off, blue tack to her fridge as a deterrent from eating, and she's got little girls in her family.
Wow.
It's just like, what the fuck are we doing, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, Camille.
Yeah. No, you're welcome to swear here.
I felt nauseated, and I thought, but also compassion. Like, it's not her that I was angry with. I was angry at the consciousness that underpins that. And then I'm a really big believer is that we can't be justified in getting pissed off with something out there in the world if we're not willing to actually see that we can be cause in the matter of creating solution. So I thought, what is the probably biggest thing that I can do now? And that was where that video was born from.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's such a powerful video. And a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they're often very beautiful women, and they still have that body image issue. And it's just, it breaks my heart. And I suffered myself in my early 20s from bulimia for a couple of years. So I just think it's just such a huge issue. So I loved how you just shared your story, and, it's just beautifully done. So definitely will share that. Now let's talk a little bit about love. Now you're happily married, and of course you've shared earlier there's ups and downs, and it's not a perfect relationship all the time. So was it easy for you to attract an amazing partner? Because I actually have chatted with your husband quite a few years ago, and I can tell he's an amazing guy. So was it a breeze for you to attract such an amazing man?
Thank you. He is amazing. And I'm laughing my head off here because when we met, I told you the time frame, that was 13 years ago. We met 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Met when I was at my lowest and he was at his lowest.
Wow.
So this is your total non-fantasy story where we crash together like two trains. See, a lot of people when they first get together, as you know, show each other the best parts of themselves.
That's
and they
right.
look through glasses and they play up the best parts and they delete out all the flaws.
Yeah.
And then over time that wears off and they only start seeing the shitty parts of themselves and they delete out the good stuff. That's can
right.
be a bit of a pattern. Well, we sort of met at our rock bottoms and we had a year of just really hurting each other and just in a lot of pain together. And when we came through that, we really had to make a conscious decision together about where we were taking our relationship and our lives individually and our relationship together. And actually, could we create a future that was not based on our past? And then we had to look at what are the core areas that would create that level of a future and that level of a conscious relationship together. Like, these are big conversations to have when you don't have the tools. So we had to go to conversations that were so, I'd say, even unorthodox, like so not common. We didn't have a role model for this, and it was just really feeling it out. One of our early conversations we had was a conversation around our stand for 100% authenticity in our relationship. And so in that conversation, we both had to, and actually it was instigated by Hinari.
Okay.
He came to me and he said that he saw a new future for us, what they look like, but inside of that, he had to share about what he had done previously to that conversation, the affairs or the women he'd slept with. I also had to share about the loans that I'd got out without telling him to go shopping, all of that kind of...
All the stuff you wouldn't share.
It's like what we do is we have so much stuff, and this isn't any relationship that's within our closet. It's like we've all got a relationship closet, and that stuff just gets chucked in there or chucked under the rug and goes unaddressed. So we had to go through there and we pulled everything out, and then from there, we committed to 100% honesty and authenticity, and then we created like a relationship document together. What was our agreement? What's our commitment? Why are we together? Like, given that we could be with anyone, there's billions of people on the planet, why do we choose to be together? Because it is a choice.
That's just so gorgeous.
Because out of anyone in the world, he's the one person that can push my buttons the most. And out of anyone in the world, I'm the one that can push his buttons the most. And we've been perfectly brought together to help heal our most hurt, frightened parts. Like, it is not an accident that we're brought together. So if we have, without a higher context for that, we'll just be an upset. But with a higher context for that, each of us keeps getting called to step up, to step up, to step up. Now, this relationship has grown me so much, and vice versa.
I just want to add something quickly there. It's such an important point. I love that you share that it's been, there's been so many challenges and growth, because a lot of women still have that perception, like, if it doesn't, if it's too hard at the beginning, or if it's a bit challenging, it's just not meant to be. It's all meant to just be rosy. But of course, that's not the case. So yours was the total opposite, really. I mean, there were a lot of challenges. And did you though, when you first met him, did you have a sense of, wow, there's something really deep there? Was it like was there a strong instant attraction there?
Instant on, and for some reason which we can't logically figure out, is we have both felt magnetic for each other for 14 years, and we still have that magnetism together.
Amazing.
And it's really interesting. I remember seeing him, and he always says that when he saw me, he remembers me turning around in slow motion. So there was something there that we just are trusting that we're meant to be here together, to do something together, and then we have to choose that, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. So in the past, before you met him, did you have patterns around like being drawn to really, bad boys, unavailable men, or were the relationships always sort of, were they all different, or the opposite?
Yeah, the opposite. I had 2 long-term relationships before him, and both of them were very, I would say, nice, stable men. I was probably the one that had the temper problem in those relationships.
Yeah.
I was with them because I was so safe and they did not challenge me. But the interesting thing is that, and they were longer-term relationships, is that in one of them in particular, I can count on one hand the amount of times that we argued in 3 years. And it's interesting because a lot of people say, you must have a great relationship because you don't argue. Well, actually, I think that was almost like a warning sign. There was really no passion there. There was no depth of willingness to be committed to really like sharing ourselves and go there and show up in our truth, that we just avoided everything.
Right.
We could not argue because we avoided everything. He didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he truly was. And we skimmed the surface layer of our relationship and ourselves.
Love that. So what are some of the reasons why you choose to stay together, if you're happy to share?
Yeah. So one of the big ones is that here's the thing, we do have kids.
Sure.
We have shared values. We have this magnetism together. On a very, if we look at the level of, on the earth, we have a family, we have commitments. Out of anyone in the world, I actually am attracted to him, and vice versa. So we might as well just do that. But then if we step it up a level, we genuinely feel that we have been drawn together for a reason. We're just a perfect complement for each other in terms of this business that we're creating, and our messages in the world. He is out of the box in his thinking. He's so abstract. He challenges me so much, whereas I'm a lot more grounded, and I have kind of a strategy, and I've got thought through processes. So I teach him that, and he teaches me that. Whereas when we do an offering, say when we run our big 2-day live events together, we've actually got a 5-day coming up, Jack Canfield in Bali.
Wow.
And, we co-teach because I create the structure, I create the frames. And then he comes in and does the intuitive dancing with people where it's really deep diving. So,
Beautiful.
There's so much. We've got a shared mission. Let's say that.
Oh, amazing. And I mean, that was going to be one of my next questions. How do you juggle love, success, having your mission? But I mean, he's part of the mission, isn't he? I mean, you're a team.
Definitely. We share we're very clear on what our 4 key pillars are in our life. And our 4 key pillars are exactly the same. So for me and for him, number 1 is our commitment to ourselves. First, independent of the marriage. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is our commitment to the marriage. And then number 3 is our commitment to our kids. They come third on the rung, which they don't like, but anyhow, they absolute benefit when both myself and our marriage show up in our fullest sense. They benefit. And
so
then
relationship first.
Relationship first. And then number 4 is our mission together. So those 4 things for us, we're so aligned on. We will say no to everything else. And, what that's meant is sometimes we don't have much of a social life. When we do want to hang out, it's like, who are our friends? Only because we've just been so clear that we are aligned. There's not a lot of non-negotiables are clear. Because I think with couples, when they, if they have priorities out here and all those priorities aren't aligning, you're going to constantly have conflict.
Absolutely. So you're really clear with common values and what you're focusing on. So tell us give us a little bit of a taste of like who are the workshops for? also, how can people find out about you? But so you're running sometimes weekend workshops and sometimes longer sort of retreats. So who is it for? Who's the ideal person to attend that training?
Yeah, so we do our 2-day flagship program, which is called Game Changer Live. We run it through Australasia, Southeast Asia, and we'll have around 100 people in the room for 2 days.
Wow.
And so who comes? This is so non-marketing because you're supposed to know your target. The thing is, it's actually any human being can walk through the door and does walk through the door and be given the intuitiveness of Hina Adi's. It's not teaching, it's not coaching, but what he facilitates. The workshop gets created for who's in the room on the day.
Wow.
So yeah, we have a structure and a framework, but I'd say 90% of the time it gets thrown out because it's interesting. Say there's 100 people in the room. Sometimes there's these themes that come up in the space. We did a workshop recently. Feminine sexual energy was just a theme that was screaming. So we really had to go there for the 2 days and major breakthroughs. And then we had another workshop that it was actually youth suicide. That was a theme that came up really strongly within that community. So we really went there in terms of what is the stand that we're all going to be for within the community, within ourselves, within our families. So I genuinely say that the audience is super, super wide. It's really for anyone who's willing to totally crack open the stuff that's been blocking them and then step into really the next level of who they are. But it's about also reconnecting back to their truth because we've all got what we need on the inside. It's just that we block ourselves so much.
Absolutely. I mean, one of your taglines I noticed on a website is reminding you of your truth and power, which is summarizes it really well. So what I'd love to ask you too is around the self-love body image, because you had struggled from an eating disorder and have overcome that. So I'm assuming a lot of my the women who watch would relate. So do you want to share some of your story with what really helped you, or what your advice be to how to really just love your body unconditionally?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people have there's a sliding scale of eating disorders. And I think there is at one end of the sliding scale, full on anorexia, life-threatening. And then you've got at the other end of the sliding scale, people who are just really just rejecting, disowning their bodies and not okay with the skin that they're in.
Yeah.
And I think when we give it that context, I think I'd hate to know the stats, but I'd say 90+% of people can really fit themselves along that sliding scale somewhere.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is let's actually have zero tolerance for the common agreement that we've had around it's okay to reject who we are. So I could go right back to what made the difference when I had anorexia getting through that. But I think in terms of relating to most people who are listening to this, it's actually it's the everyday self-rejection that I want to address right now. It's the everyday waking up and having an image in your head of this is actually who I need to be, this is how I need to look, this is how I need to feel in my body so that I'll finally love myself. And I think that whenever we've got some kind of fantasy image in our head, some picture of what we're trying to get to so that we can experience happiness, joy and love, we're always going to be feeling suffering, because suffering is that gap between where we are and where we expect we're supposed to be. So my advice, encouragement, almost like down on my knees begging, is if you're experiencing that and you're rejecting any part of you, is that's your work. That is the biggest part of your work right now, to really look at those parts and from a place of also self-love, because this is what you can do. Holy shit, there's a big gap. Now I'm going to make myself wrong for that. I'm saying really show up self-loving and just say, look, loving who I am right now.Maybe it's my tummy that I can't be with. Maybe it's my butt I can't be with. And just actually show up with self-love. For me, it was my tummy. I was going to show it, but I've got a skirt on. I've got a gorgeous wrinkly tummy.
It's in the video.
Go and see in the video. I've got a gorgeous wrinkly kind of apron tummy, and that learning to love that. And I now love my tummy. I rock a bikini with my apron hanging over the top.
Love that.
And I think it's fucking sexy. So sexy when a woman owns herself. Interestingly, I was at a conference just recently. Day one, I turned up all dressed up. And I sort of sat there and I was in an introverted mood and I was a little bit kind of disconnected, and I met no one. Now, aesthetically, I was all dressed up. Day 2, I woke up in the morning and I thought, no, I'm going to have so much fun. This is going to be about me. And I wore my ugliest track pants because I was so comfy, and I wore this Unicorns Are Real, my 14-year-old daughter's top.
Love it. Love that.
So good. It was so comfy. And I wore my sneakers that had like really holes in them, like they were really ugly and I need to replace them. And I just pulled my hair back and I had circles under my eyes, and I danced all day. And I had so much fun, and I was sweating, and I did stink because I blah, blah, blah. And I'd say probably about over the course of a day, maybe 30, 40 people came over to say hi and introduce themselves. It is not about what we look like. It is so about the connection that we have with ourselves. And when we get to take the focus off what we look like, we get to develop a deeper love and relationship with ourselves. That's what's going to attract in a beautiful partner in our lives. That's what's going to attract in the beautiful experiences, the beautiful partners, the beautiful friendships in our lives. And it all starts with us.
So true. So true. And, so many women come to me and they say, I just still need to lose a bit of weight before I'm ready for that ideal relationship. It's like, it's not about the weight. It's really about how you feel, how home you are in your body. So 100% true. Is there before we wrap up, any last piece of advice you want to share around, because you're very much an expert in keeping the relationship alive and passionate, so is there a piece of advice that you want to share with that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Can I do some rapid fire? I think number 1 is have time to yourself and time together. So time apart, time together. So time apart, you need to have time apart to actually come back to really appreciate your partner again. So whether it's booking in an afternoon to yourself or even a weekend away, we have regular weekends away on our own on a regular basis that are booked in like a year in advance. They're scheduled in and they're non-negotiable. Then we have weekends away together or date night. So like the time together is so important. Like play together, learn new things together. But also, so that's like the spiciness that keeps you alive. It keeps the relationship alive. But also, like that's the easy stuff to talk about. The hardest stuff to talk about is what's in the cupboard that's building up in terms of resentment, things that go unaddressed. Like that, you really actually need to develop a habit of when things come up to speak the unspeakable before it becomes a lump and mound underneath the carpet. So
be real in the moment.
Yeah. Talking. And also like choosing your moments, because sometimes it's inappropriate, it's not that useful just to blurt it out, which I'm learning. Teach you create the space and then frame it so your partner knows what the intention of this is. Because, sometimes when you're just moving around during your day and you're tired or you're thinking about other things and your partner just kind of left-side you with this, and then you're not sort of prepared to hold space for them. So, be responsible for when you say it and how it comes across, but definitely go there. And then the other thing is, I would say, really when each partner takes on the responsibility for, one, their own things that come up and their own patterning and their conditioning, that is so key. So if he's telling me, because we have an agreement that when he's attracted to someone and vice versa, we tell each other. Mm-hmm. So if Henari's saying to me, look, I'm really attracted to this girl at the gym, if I have any feelings around that, that is not for me to take it out and bitch slap him with. It's for me to own and then find those hurt and frightened parts within me. The other thing is to be responsible for is how we see each other. So if I'm relating to him on a daily basis as the same guy that I wake up with again and again and again, that's all he's going to show up with. But if I am responsible for, I don't really know who I am fully. How the heck do I know who this guy is? And then just really look at, what if I know nothing about him? What if he's brand new from yesterday, and the space that they can get to show up.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that opens up a whole other reality. Yeah, beautiful. Great advice. So how can the ladies find out about you? What's the easiest way for them to check out your work and what you do?
Oh, so find me on any social media, particularly Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
Kate Marie O'Brien on any social media, but come and connect with me on Facebook. Check out my YouTube channel. So every week I put out I called them my Hollywood blockbusters, but they're 2 minutes of something that's, it takes quite a bit of time to make each video. And then if you want to get my free training, it's theexpansionprocess.com. And the distinctions that I've kind of just touched on now, I really drill down into depth on these distinctions, how you can actually like work the muscle of them in your life.
Perfect. I'll be sharing those links in the video below anyway, so that's easy to find. Thanks so much for your wisdom and sharing some of your your journey with the audience. Really appreciate that. And you are such a powerful leader, and stand for authenticity and truth, and it's just beautiful to watch. So thank you again.
Oh, thanks, Camille. It's been totally fun having the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.